Hey folks, in today's video I'm going to put Nikon's two flagships head to head, the D850 and the Z7. Now you might think it's a no-brainer, but as I actually sat down and made the list of the different points of what's important, it wasn't as clear-cut as one always being better than the other. Now I have field tested both of these, incidentally both in Iceland, put tens of thousands of frames on both of them. So my experiences are based on that, as well as I'm getting Joe in today. We're gonna do some shooting outdoors, testing the tracking, the video, and all that good stuff to just reinforce and check that my memory of using both of these in the field is still on point. Let's get into it. Okay folks, today's showdown is brought to you by NordVPN. I've been a paying customer of Nord since 2017 and it's fantastic. It's fast, secure and reliable, and it does everything I need it to. Every time I'm on an unsecured Wi-Fi network, I'm using it on whatever device it is, and you should be too. What I mean by an unsecured Wi-Fi network is where it's not your own network. If you're on a coffee shop or an airport or any kind of public Wi-Fi, there's a higher potential of someone else on that network being able to access your device and your data, so a VPN keeps you safe. If you jump on over to nordvpn.com/Matt Granger, you can get 75% off their 3-year plan, and with the code Matt Granger at checkout, you'll get a bonus month as well. Now, as well as that purpose for keeping safe online, I use a VPN personally because I travel so much, and I find that if I use a VPN to show the booking server that I'm in a different country than actually America, I can get better deals on my flights and my accommodation. So if you want to keep your data safe and potentially get better deals, check out nordvpn.com/Matt Granger, use the code Matt Granger, 75% off their 3-year plan and a bonus month. Now let's get into it. Okay folks, as I said, I have shot with these cameras extensively, and as I built out my list of what I think is important, yes, I have to disclose the D850 is probably my favorite Nikon or my favorite DSLR of all time, and it's my most used camera at the moment, so I am ingrained in that. But I have also shot with this a whole hell of a lot now, and there are aspects where this is actually definitely ahead of the D850. Now, instead of just running through a laundry list of, in this regard, this is better, in that regard, that's better, let's actually jump out, do some shooting with Johanna, and show you what I find are their pluses and minuses, then we'll wrap up in studio. This impact lighting setup that we're shooting with today is part of our end of year giveaway. Make sure you head on over to mattgranger.com/win and you can win that or either of the cameras. We got a bunch of stuff we're giving away.
Ignore him, focus on me. Florida's great because I am an only child. And when I go back to the holidays, it's like, oh my God, Johanna, no, come to our house. No, Johanna, come to our house.
So this is something you don't really notice until you're shooting one after the other. When I shoot with the Z7, I always find that the Evf Lag is quite good and the display looks fantastic, but when you're shooting D850 than this back and forth, you realize, no, this is still laggy. When you're moving around, it is taking that extra second. It does take a bit longer to acquire focus. It's still not the same experience, no matter what the engineers might want to say about this Evf. Oh, that's good now, looking down. So, have to acknowledge I'm a lifelong DSLR shooter. It's familiar for me, but I still find having all of the buttons right there, the deeper grip, the ergonomics overall better on the DSLR. And definitely the stills are focusing faster. I haven't missed a shot with the Z7 shooting here with her, but how quickly it acquires it, I'm more confident with the D850. So look, taking a look at the shots, really they're equally coming up just as nicely. I did find one or two where the Z7 missed focus, whereas with the D850 none did, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily an issue with the Z7, it's just that I'm so familiar with the D850. But here's a couple of shots from the D850 and the 105 f1.4. You can see we're yielding a crazy amount of detail and they're just coming up beautifully. Using that light to separate out and get her toned right in the background, you know, falling away like that, I think works really nicely. All of those are D850 shots. And these are the Z7. They're also looking great, loads and loads of detail. The focus was plenty fast enough for a shoot like this. Did find that I missed slightly on a couple of the shots, but nothing really. And there's a lot that we can do with so much rich data in these files. Just taking a quick look here, this is Capture One Pro 12 that just dropped. You can check that out in the link below. Overall though, I think it's fair to say that the images are pretty much indistinguishable when you look at them one-to-one on a screen. It's pretty much the same sensor, and here at low ISOs, they're both performing outstandingly well. You ready to do a bit of running about? That's the last shot of the day. Perfect, Cruella. Do you know you're like an inch from the tripod leg then? I don't think you realize how close it came.
I did.
No chance. So I want to do, so that's basically going to be your line, and this is going to be nice and simple. Fast, 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 fast. It's not fast. There, just got the face at the last minute. Just start, go walk, 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 turn around. Let's see, get your face, and now just walk, strut at us. Okay, throw your jacket on whilst I change cameras. So here we go, we're filming this time with the Z7. Let's see if it can stay with her. Come on, buddy. You're good, don't worry, just focus out the pain. I didn't tell you to go. Okay, so this should track her just in the normal mode, then we'll put the face tracking on. Let's do it. Run at me, bro. No pain, no pain. Lovely. One to here, and we're gonna do a walk step. Totally with you, beautiful. Now let's do a jog to the end and a jog back, and let's just see how soon into the picture it'll actually pick up her face in this. Yep, that's good. Yeah, there, not super fast. Nice, we'll go back and do one run. Now, because this is the f4 lens, not the 2.8, we can't see exactly if it's keeping with it as well. So we'll do one on the adapted lens. Let's do it. Okay, let's just put the adapted 24 on. Again, I talked about this in both the videos before. I still find it so annoying that I have to take my tripod plate off every time to be able to fit the adapter and adapted lens on. But that's how it is for now. So adapted lens on, tripod plate on, and the fun continues. Okay, so the tracking with video is clearly superior with the Z7, keeping with her really well. Better even with the adapted 2.8 than it did on the D850. No surprise really. But it goes beyond video autofocus. This does 10-bit, it does log. It's got all these great features. So if you want video, this is definitely your option.
Matt.
Yes.
Can I go into the oven now?
Into the oven? You mean the apartment? No.
No, the
But
oven.
quickest way to get in there, we're just gonna do 2 running tests for autofocus stills. So I want you to run as fast as you can, but try and keep at the same speed for both cameras. We're gonna see how many shots they get off and how many are in sharp focus. So I need you to try and keep it at the same pace so they've got the same amount of time. Not exactly scientific, but let's try it. So
Okay.
jack it off, we'll say start at the bin. I'll give you a ready, set, go.
So basically I'm not going to the oven yet. Nice. Thanks.
No, you're not, basically.
All right.
So I'm doing RAW and large JPEG on both of them. They're both using the latest, fastest XQD cards. It's going to come down to buffer. I've got it set to extended high, so focus is still running, but the auto exposure is locked down on the Z7. Both using their native lenses as fast as they'll go, so 2.8. Now let's do them both at f4. That's a more comparable test. 3, 2, 1, go. So the Z7 fired off 28 shots in 5 seconds, but taking a look at the shots, only about 10 of them were perfectly in focus. It missed focus at the beginning, twice during the run through, and a lot of them were close, but were getting the tip of her nose or her ears in focus rather than the plane of her face, including her eyes. Okay, you did fabulously, can I just say.
Duh. I'm not Mike, so.
I'm lying. So we're gonna do the same thing, different camera, go back. This is the quickest way to warmth. 3, 2, 1, go. Whereas with the D850, we got 32 shots off in 5 seconds, despite it being technically a slower camera. I wasn't using the grip, but the buffer didn't fill up so quickly. And 30 out of 32 were all in focus. So that's a win to the D850. Okay, it's freezing out here. Let's run back inside. Joanna's already on her way to the apartment, and I'll wrap it up with the overall findings. But there's some pretty clear pluses and minuses for each of the cameras. Okay, fun shoot. Now, I'm gonna try and stay as focused as I can on these two cameras. It's hard when you're doing a comparison to not think about what about all the other mirrorless on the market, or what about all the other DSLRs, or. But I'm going to try and keep it to just comparing these two. So, having said that, I'm just going to straight away go against it. For a mirrorless, the Z7 has great handling and ergonomics, among the best. But I still think, without a doubt, especially if you're using bigger lenses, that the D850 is ahead. The grip is bigger, it's deeper, it does feel overall more robust, even though the Z7 does feel really nice. It's great that the Z7 has a top screen, but the D850 gives you much more info. The D850 also has a load more buttons on it, which give you direct access to things. If you want a simple interface, Z7's for you. If you want direct access to a lot more things, then the D850 is for you. Overall, for me, handling I have to give to the D850. Autofocus, like we just bared this out, didn't we? In terms of stills, the D850 is still ahead. I can say that as a blanket statement. The only caveat is if you're shooting with live view, then the Z7 actually gets ahead even for stills. But in terms of normal stills shooting, the D850 is still performing better. I don't care if they say it's the same. My practical experience over tens of thousands of shots is that the D850 focuses better for stills than the Z7. However, it's the opposite when you get to video. By a long margin, by a bigger margin than the D850 is for stills, the Z7 is a world ahead for video autofocus, for tracking and just generally pulling focus. I find it works really, really well. And for the sake of video, I do think that's a big plus in its favor. That said, a lot of people shooting video actually shoot in manual focus. So of course, like always, you need to apply your own shooting situations to work out what's going to best suit your needs. Now for that, just extending the video, overall the video capabilities are much better on the Z7. It has 10-bit, it has log, it has all kinds of great stuff in there, time coding, that the D850 doesn't. And I'm about to hit on this, that the D850 has the dual cards and the Z7 only has one, but for recording video, you're only ever using one. If you're using an external screen, it's the same situation with both of them, so it's not a downside only having one. So as a video camera, it's a no-brainer that the Z7 is the better option. Having said that, you could also save yourself over $1,000 and get the Z6. If you're mainly or only getting it for video, this has all of the pluses, slightly fewer focus points, slightly less sharp, but the same great video specs and everything as the Z7 for a lot less money. It just doesn't have that high-res sensor without the AA filter and the slightly, the more focus points, but I haven't found a big difference in video autofocus between the Z6 and the Z7. Coming back to it, so in terms of general features, yes, I think having dual cards is a big plus on the D850. Also, the bigger top-down screen, overall it feels more rugged to me. But on the flip side, I think there's a lot of features that the Z7 has that are ahead. So a great EVF, even if you're not a fan of EVFs, there is an advantage in that you do see your true exposure through the shot. If you're someone like me who often will be shooting in black and white, so in playback I can really pay attention to my light and shadow, well, you just see it as you're composing the shot on this. That's really handy, as is the peaking and the ability to adapt pretty much any lens to this because of the really short flange distance. That's all really cool. So I think on features, if the dual card slots matter to you, then the D850 is going to win. If that's not such a big deal, then the Z7 really has a lot going for it. Okay, image quality. Now this is a tough one. They're both using that great 46 megapixel sensor. I have seen people, Tony and Chelsea reported that at really high ISOs, or if you're going at a high ISO and then pushing it crazy amounts, like 4 or 5 stops, you see some banding because of the AF pixels on sensor with the Z7 that you don't get with the D850. But I personally am very, very rarely up at those kind of ISOs, and I don't think I've ever needed to push a shot 4 or 5 stops in post to bring it back. So that personally doesn't affect me. If it does, you keep that in mind. But otherwise, the image quality is really indistinguishable. Check the link in the description below and you can get some sample files from Day side by side so you can see that for yourself. Having said that, there are 2 things that play into image quality and they each have an advantage. The fact that this nails focus more reliably for stills is a big factor in getting a good image. The fact that this has on-sensor stabilization is also potentially a big factor in getting nice, sharp images. So they're both things you need to think about. What is going to be more useful to you? Okay, speed. It's a tough one because technically with the later X-Speed processor, this is doing faster frames per second without a grip than the D850. But once you take into account having full focus and not locking down the screen and all of that kind of stuff, it gets closer. But then the shocking buffer on the Z7 means that you're actually going to get off more shots written to your high speed XQD with the D850. So it really depends how you're looking at it, and are you going to be shooting things where doing 9 frames a second but locking down your exposure or focus aren't an issue for you. You're going to have to compare that out. And the last one is battery life. Sorry to do this because I promised I wouldn't, but again, compared to most mirrorless out there, the Z7 is doing great. These reports of it only doing 300 shots per battery are total malarkey. I was easily getting 1,000 when I did my field tested video. You can see both of the field tested as cards above, but it's still not as good as the D850. And how could it be? You're using a screen all the time with this one. It's got sensor stabilization, even though they both use the same great battery pack, or they're compatible. The D850 has a better battery life. So long story, summarizing, for stills, for me and my needs, the D850 is absolutely a no-brainer. If I was only doing it for video, the Z7 would be. Well, actually the Z6 would be. If it was a real split between video and stills, and I needed autofocus in video, I would actually probably go for the Z7. So if I'm going to travel with a mirrorless now, instead of taking along a Sony or something else, I would take a Z6 or 7 along as my second camera. The control layouts are similar enough that I do get the benefit of still being in the ecosystem. Then I get to share batteries, share cards, share lenses, as long as I take the adapter along. And then great autofocus, great video, great autofocus, great stills. It's a kind of a match made in heaven. But it really is going to come down to you and how you're going to use them. Do make sure you check out the NordVPN link below, /Matt Granger, 75% off their 3-year plan. I'm a genuine user for over a year and a half now. It's a great service, and why not get 75% off? Use the code Matt Granger at checkout. Thank you to Johanna. You can find her links below as well. Do let me know as a comment below which of these you would choose and what kind of shooting or video filming you're doing. I'll see you soon.